Welcome to FIRS Moments on Boldfaces. We are right here at the Oriental Hotels in Lagos, Nigeria, where the FIRS executives are holding meetings with stakeholders to discuss issues of national importance with respect to tax administration and national revenue. Right here on Boldfaces. Don't go away.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax.
This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
We called for this meeting because we saw a disconnect. We've now invoked certain things in our law to enforce tax compliance. Substitution, meaning that we put a lien on bank accounts. We have stepped up the trade activities, and so we wanted the consultants, the business community, and other stakeholders for us to sit together and talk about our strategy and the way forward.
Stakeholders here today are very important, but I'd like to hold a few close to me. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, I'm not going to go into too much formality, but I'll first of all like to thank you for honoring this invitation for us to discuss issues of tax administration and national revenue. We believe that it is key that we have this discussion at this point in time so we can actually tell you what we have been involved in, where we are, and the assistance that we require from all stakeholders to ensure that our country, Nigeria, moves forward.
Recently, we embarked on enforcing compliance with tax laws in the country. And some of our action generated a lot of reactions and driven by some kind of misunderstanding. And management felt that it's important for us to engage the stakeholders. And that was why we had that stakeholders forum in Lagos.
I think it was a time for us to give an update as to how far we've gone and clarify any issues that taxpayers may have. And considering that we had done the first tax amnesty in 2016, followed up closely with the VADs that recently ended, and we still noticed that there are quite a number of taxpayers that had still not come into the tax net or were still refusing to pay their taxes, remitting their VAT and their withholding tax on a monthly basis.
We have a high level of non-compliance in this country. We had companies, registered businesses, trusts and partnerships that were doing business and had turnover in their banking accounts of over ₦1 billion and they were not paying taxes. We had properties in so many parts of this country, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos, most of our big cities, owned by corporate entities, and those companies were not registered for taxes. So we looked into our law books and started to invoke some of our laws that have been kind of passive over the years.
So we thought it was a good time for us to meet with the stakeholders, especially from the different organizations, from NECA, from MAN, from the MBA, from different business sectors, and just individuals who want to know more about our direction and answer any questions that they may have.
Some of you might have heard this or might have known this, but Nigeria still has one of the lowest tax revenue to GDP in the world. All experts, international experts from the World Bank, from the UN, from the OECD, etc., came up position that if our tax revenue to GDP is below 15%, it is not likely we'll be in a position to fund social or economic infrastructure required in this country. Everyone here is a major stakeholder in the economy. We are tax administrators, but also part of this society and this economy.
All over the world, taxation is an issue. People have expectations from government. They expect social services, hospitals must be funded, education is key, security is very important. Government's job is not to print money. They need money to provide those basic services. And for government to raise those monies, we need to tax people. People need to pay. And the problem we had in the past was that this nation had so much from oil revenue. And because money was coming from oil, we never emphasized taxation as it ought to.
The developed societies, you'll find out that a lot of them comply. They simply comply for two reasons. Number one, because they love their nation and they want to see development. Number two, there are consequences for non-compliance. And I think we should take a leaf from the areas that show us what they have gone through, and we admire the end results. I met some secondary school students. They came on a tour of FIRS. And each time we'll have discussions and we'll ask them what are they doing for their summer holidays. Out of all the schools that came, only one school, the students said they prefer to tour Nigeria. All the other students spoke about going to Dubai, going to America, going to London. And it saddens my heart that the future generation that we're leaving Nigeria for, if all they're thinking of is going to abroad to spend a little foreign exchange, or their desires is to be abroad and not be at home, the question I'll ask you and I is that what kind of country are we leaving behind? So the actions that we take today, or we decide today, I think to a large degree will answer that question.
What we do basically is that oil revenue is dwindling, government needs alternative revenue sources, taxation is available. You have the VAT that people who consume things ought to pay. Nigeria has the cheapest VAT rates. In the UK, other places, it's far higher. Nigeria is the only country where you have VAT at 5%, even in Africa.
When we are unable to determine the assessable profit of a company or its turnover, or when they are not filing returns, the law empowers the service to do what is called a deemed income assessment. And so that's what we did in some cases.
Companies must pay their taxes. Individuals who work should be able to pay their payee to the state government, and other individuals that run their private businesses, not organized sector, should also be able to pay taxes to the state governments where they domicile. So governments at all levels, the federal, the state, and the local governments, they require the money, they need the money generated through taxes to fund the activities. So without taxes, there'll be no life. So we need taxes to be alive.
And in some also, where we have served them assessment, we've persuaded them and they failed to pay, we also have a power that is called a power of substitution. And so we also did that as well. Because these laws have been in our books for many years and were not being applied, it became quite strange to the paying public.
They're not new laws. They're laws that have always been there for the past few years, that have not been put into action.
Federal Inland Revenue Service is an organization guided by law. taxation is about law. We are guided by the Compendium of Nigerian taxes, the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are also guided by the FIRS Act, which was passed by Parliament. We have Section 31 of the FIRS Act, which allows us, it's what is known as a proxy, to appoint a third party. Just like we have appointed third parties, a supermarket is a third party that helps us to collect VAT from people that buy, that go shopping. A hotel is a collecting agent that collects VAT from people that have resided in the hotels. A restaurant is a collecting agent that helps to collect VAT from individuals that have come to eat. So you have proxy, you have collecting agents. Just like the government MDAs are also collecting agents for withholding taxes for people, from people they have issued contracts to. So FIRS can appoint third parties like banks who are custodian of monies.
From the 23 banks we have analyzed so far, we had 31,395 records, out of which effectively, minus duplications, we had 18,602. We broke those into three categories. Those that have a TIN, tax ID and pay. Those that have no TIN, and of course no TIN, no pay. And those that have a TIN and have not even paid anything. So on a minimum, every company or business included here over the last 3 years have had banking turnover of 3 billion and above. Some of them have had banking turnover of over 5 billion and not paid one kobo in taxes.
So there were reactions. People felt that, why is this happening? Because it has never happened before. And we felt there was a need for us to get the stakeholders together and explain to them that we're not doing anything outside of the law. We're simply applying the law as it is. And that was what informed the meeting we had in Lagos on the 6th of September.
We have tried. Go through the enforcement to seal. You can seal a place. The man will tell you, oh, I don't have money to pay. Or you can go out there and adopt some other substitution methods. In the process of sending or serving some of these companies, you will not locate them in their addresses.
Part of the job of a tax administrator is to know your taxpayer. We have taken time to know our taxpayers. And we've also taken time to know those who are not our taxpayers. These are actual facts that I've received from banks. Looked at all businesses, partnerships, corporate accounts that have a minimum turnover of 1 billion per annum for the past 3 years. First of all, the law states clearly that before you open a corporate account, part of the opening documentation is a tax ID.
But thankfully, the BVN has ensured that a lot of Nigerians run accounts, especially corporate bodies. You can't transact huge volumes by cash, so they have accounts. So we appoint those banks as collecting agents. We write to them that this individual, this customer, who may have an account in that particular bank, is owing this quantum of taxes, and they should deduct them and remit to us.
Now, the total number of TIN and no pay, and no TIN and no pay, is 6,772. TIN and no pay, 2,571. No TIN, no pay, 409. So if someone is good in mathematics, and you take the minimum level of 3 billion times 409, and they're operating within our society, within our economy, and do not remit or make any tax payment. Now, let me also explain for those who are not tax administrators, but everyone here should have an idea of what I'm trying to explain. First of all, banking turnover does not mean that is the turnover of your business. It just means that is the amount of money that has gone in and out of your account. But what the tax law says is that if you do not file your returns and you're in constant default, we use turnover as a basis of estimating your tax liability. And I'll give you a little example. If your turnover is 100 million, we assume that 20% of that is profits, and we tax it at 30%, which means you get about 6.6 million out of every 100 million turnover. That is the law. Some people may believe certain things. NGOs, churches, state government accounts, parastatals, pension and salary accounts are not included. So we have not put any of those who, by law, are not expected to pay tax in this group.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
People have the notion that the rich don't pay taxes. And especially in Nigeria, the civil servants, the middle class, and when I say middle class, I'm not talking about in terms of position in society, in terms of their finances, seem to believe that they're the ones carrying the burden of many, which, if you look at it, could be true. We believe that we have at least 50 million Nigerians that are doing some form of business or the other that should be in the tax net. Currently, we're at 19.5. Yes, we've had an increase from 10 million to 19.5 since 2015 to date, but we know that there's another 20 million that are not in the tax net. We're also quite aware that some people had formed shell companies, corporate organizations, that do a lot of banking turnover, transactions that are not in the tax net. And so we looked at businesses, partnerships, enterprises that had a minimum of 1 billion turnover annually for 3 years, meaning that any company or any business that we did rights to or engage had a minimum of 3 billion naira turnover, banking turnover, and quite a number of them still had no tax ID, meaning that they did not come into the tax net, they did not remit any taxes to government, and so we took, which is in line with the law, the route of substitution, which means that we've appointed the banks to be agents of collection for tax arrears.
We're using banks now because it's the most convenient to use, but actually the law empowers us to appoint about anybody, as an agent of collection. So in this case, what the service has done is to use that power that the Lord has granted to it and say that for companies with turnover of 1 billion and above in their banking transaction, not business turnover, we know the difference between the two, but we just need to bring them to the tax net. Now we're saying that the bank, should now act like the agent of FIRS in collecting those revenue. Raise an assessment and send it to the bank and ask them to remit that amount to the coffers of FIRS, or in the alternative, to ensure that they post no debit to that account, meaning they cannot withdraw from that account pending the time that they regularize their tax status with Federal Revenue Service. It's just a way of ensuring that compliance is met as much as possible. For we cannot continue the way we are. After we have written to taxpayers, we have made a lot of campaigns, both electronic, prints, and all manner of campaign to taxpayer. We think we just must reach out to the enforcement powers that's granted to us under the law. And basically that's what we're doing with appointing bank as an agent of collection for the service.
Now, what we have done is what we call substitution, which also is in our law, which empowers us to appoint the banks as a collection agent for tax. So all these ones, total of 10 and no pay, and no 10 and no pay of 6,772, will have their accounts frozen or put under substitution, pending when they come forward. They refused to come forward under VATES. First of all, they refused to come forward in 2016. They refused to come forward under VATES, and they're still operating here. So we're putting them on notice that it is their civic responsibility to pay tax and to file on these accounts.
Have you heard? Well, it's real. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, is automating its tax administration process through the Integrated Tax Administration System, ITAS. Taxpayers can now file and pay their taxes online. I can feel your excitement, and the next question you want to ask is how? It's simple. To file online, go to www.firs.gov.ng. Click on e-services, click on e-filing, click on download e-filing application form. Download and complete the form. Ensure that it is duly signed by the taxpayer and or authorized officer of the taxpayer. Return the completed form to your tax office for issuance of username and password. Check your email for your user ID and password. Go to www.firs.gov.ng. Click on e-services. Click on e-filing. Click on ITAS e-filing portal. Log in with your user ID and password. Change your password upon first login. Upload your returns. Click submit. Document number will be provided instantly and automatically. Click on e-payment and follow specified steps by your bank and proceed to make your tax payment. Lost? Don't be. Document number is a remittance form number which is used for raising assessment and payment of taxes on the ITAS platform. Document number is unique to taxpayers, tax type, tax period, and tax office. Now tell me, isn't this amazing? www.firs.gov.ng. It pays to pay your tax.
This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Since the executive chairman came on board, he's someone that believes strongly that enforcement must be done with human face. The enforcement we do, it's not the so-called throwing around our weight. We engage taxpayers. We get into enforcement as a last resort. That's the last resort. After all options have failed. And when we go out on enforcement, we do it in such a way that we want these companies to be alive. We want these companies to remain in business, because it's only when they are in business that they can continue to pay their taxes.
Not draconian. When you look at the payments of tax in any society is to ensure that everyone who resides or lives in that society can be taken care of. So it is a crime against society when you do not pay your taxes and you're within that same society enjoying the benefits that government provides, the roads, the security, and other things. and then most of all, making money within that society and not paying your taxes, which is your civic responsibility. And the Constitution of Nigeria says that every adult should honestly file and pay their taxes as when due. That is in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, apart from the tax laws that cover the corporate organizations and personal individuals.
So the executive chairman does graciously approve instrumental payments, okay, because some of these companies can say, hey, the amount which I'm indebted to, is based on their own assessment. They are the people that gave us their tax assessment. We do self-assessment in Nigeria. Based on what they ought to pay that they're unable to pay, they can give a scheme, a plan of payment, and we look at those plans and agree to them. So we are customer friendly. We discuss with them the terms of payment, and when they come up with those terms of payment, we agree to them.
The response from the bank, they don't have much of a choice, if I must say, under the law. This is a democratic environment where the rule of law must be complied with. And since we are not doing this outside of the law, like I mentioned, we clearly indicates the law empowering us to do so. We've enjoyed cooperation from the banks. Their compliance level is very high, and we don't really have any issues with them.
Yes, people would say that we need to amend some of our laws. But in terms of the enforcement activities, I think the laws are adequate. So we'll just do the best that we can in this job as a job of service. Because when you look at it, any one additional naira that is generated, if spent well, either at the federal, state, or local governments, will improve the standard of living for you and I.
Welcome back. I hope we've been able to educate our viewers today on the benefits of paying taxes, because it pays to pay your tax. We'll be here again next week to bring more FIRS moments to you right here on Boldfaces. My name is Tricia Eseigbe Kerry. See you next week. Bye for now.